pack labeling. It's going to deal with some two categories of issue. These nutrients of concern and ingredient of concern. If the nutrient profile model will address the nutrient of concern, the ingredient of concern, like all the sugar sweetening non-sugar sweeteners, like aspartame and all those ones that you said, they said it doesn't contain sugar, but contains some other additives. It has been implicated, and they established that some of these things also cause problem. When they are broken down, they cause cancer in the system, they cause this and that. We were not for. So these are the emerging issues. That's why we said by the time we agree on the issue of our front of pack label in the country, that is high in that product, it should be indicated on the label, high in this particular matter, high in salt. So it depends, that's why we want to do the research. Which one, a type of label, will be suitable for us in the country, considering our level of literacy and other factors. So that's why I was appealing to every one of us, the researchers. We need data. When we are doing nutrient profile model, we need data. We need, so let's all the academics and let's research into nutrient composition so that we'll be able to know specific things to do concerning this stuff. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you very much. Also, in line with what my other senior colleagues have said, in Standard Organization of Nigeria, we try to create a lot of awareness as regards standard requirements. Okay, and when we are talking about Nigerian industrial standards for soft drink, when we are talking about sugars, okay, there is a minimum requirement in the standard, and we ensure that manufacturers are strictly adhering to that through our regular factory inspections. We also certify these products to our mandatory conformity assessment scheme. Okay, like I'll give you an example for sugars now. One of our manufacturers, we ensure strict compliance to maximum 15 grams. Is even on the label. We ensure that they meet up with labeling requirements. We check all these things. We do on-the-spot tests with these manufacturers to be sure that we'll pick samples in the warehouse. We pick samples even going on and follow up and see that this minimum requirement of standard is strictly adhered to, because we are really concerned. Also, we also carry out awareness creation. The need to comply to this standard requirements. We sensitize them on the health implication or non-compliance. So those are some of the things that as SON we are doing. We are doing a lot of work. And also, according to one, I saw something about academia and market studies. Ogumoyela et al. 2023 examined front of pack labeling formats across Lagos markets. And it revealed that only 4% of products carry out front of pack labeling. So actually it's already in the offering in Nigeria. It's just that we need to synergize and improve upon it. And that's why institutions like NIFST need to be collaborated with to ensure enforcement of this front of pack labeling formats. Okay, and it was carried out mostly imported goods had this front of pack labelings, whereas our own indigenous products only about 4% were complying. So we are getting there gradually. From 4% would improve. Okay, and then on back of pack information, underscoring the gap that the new policy aim to close. So that means that policy and economic framing, recent statements from and front of pack labeling are economic investments, linking reduced sodium intake and transparent labeling to productivity gains and lower healthcare costs. So we are getting somewhere.
Thank you very much. So I will have Dr. Eshet to say a few things to capture.
Okay. Thank you very much. And I know a lot of us, we should learn to trust government. I had a question, when is it happening? the government that is running now is very transparent. Part of what we are doing, the government is collaborating with the professional body. We have not, you ask a question when. This meeting here today cannot say when. If you see the title we are discussing, the topic says Global Best Practice in front of pack labeling and nutrition profiling, charting Nigeria's path forward. That means this body is highly recognized, and this is part of the open dialogue. Everybody is saying you should dialogue, you should discuss, carry everybody along. We've had that discussion. So this process today is part of carrying everybody along. Even the lecturer should make it part of the component of conveying the message through students that also possible research areas can come out from this our discussion. There's possible research area that should come out. The director has already said there are 3 committees that are up, and research is also needed. And when we started this discussion, we said we are not ready to copy models from countries that have already adopted it. We will align whatever we are doing with our own cultural best practice while we look at the global best practice. In terms of sugar, I want to align with the question that how much added sugar is added. Science is dynamic. We used to hear sugar, 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 but the issue now, products globally are demanded to label quantity of added sugar. And you see some products does not contain added sugar. What does that tell us? The issue with the metabolic health problems we are managing is issue of added sugar, not the intrinsic sugar in that fruit. Every fruit has a sugar content, or if most of the food we eat are in nutrition background. If not, what are you preserving? So we are making NIFST of prominence to government. These are a body that's in charge of processing of food beds. That food you are processing must meet the nutritional requirements in terms of providing well-being. We here are food processors. Front of pack labeling should be of utmost importance to us. If you are packaging your food, and if you are packaging food, labeling is what sells that food product. And so therefore, we are here saying that data must match demographics. Somebody said that again. Data must match demographic data, Abi. So that's an area of research that is a take back from this discussion, and it's research point. Thank you.
I thank everybody, all the presenters, all the speakers. I thank all the participants. But I would like to thank Coca-Cola for doing this for us once again, for being there for NIFST every year, for enabling possibility of having this healthy discussion. Most importantly, that of today. While FOPL is not new to some, I am very sure it is very new to many. And this is a means of awareness dissemination. And if I may say more about the person that has the question concerning sweetness of food and the sugar content. Just a quick one. One of the sweetest root and tuber is sweet potato. And if you check very well, it is one that is the best for those managing diabetes and high blood pressure. Please check. So that a food is sweet does not mean it has issue of sugar. So then again, I would like to say here that we will collect the information that all the presenters have spoken about from them. We will have compilation. And through chapter chairman, we would have to make the information available, because the session had intention of 90 minutes, but it is not possible that we have that race today. And that is why we couldn't go far taking more questions. And that is why, again, we would like to let everybody so interested, especially all the NIFSTers, through chapter chairman, have details of the discussion of all the speakers. So on this note, I want to thank everybody once again for your time. I thank the leadership of NIFST for the opportunity. I thank all the participants for sitting down to listen to us. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Professor Kiwande, for moderating this session. I will now want to invite all the panelists to please step forward and have the group photograph.
Group photograph.
Take the group photograph, please. While that is going on, I want to quickly invite to the podium Madam Vivian. Please, I need your surname so that I don't murder it, or I'll be fined. She will be speaking on behalf of the CEO, Partners in Food Solutions. And this is the Partners in Food Solutions session. And I would like us to be attentive. This is just going to be a presentation. And at that, we will just wrap up and we'll go to the Elingala session that will be done immediately after this. So without wasting time, I want to hand over the microphone to her. And crave your indulgence that will give our audience and allow her. Medina Olisa, if you are here, please, your attention is required at the registration desk. Please go out quickly to attend to some things there. They need your attention quickly. Vivian Madeke will be speaking to us, and this presentation is being uploaded and will start immediately now. So she has the mic. Please, a round of applause for her while we give her our audience.
Thank you very much. My name is Madeke Vivian again, and I'm speaking on behalf of the CEO of Partners Food Solutions, who is unavoidably absent. And he has charged me with the responsibility of sharing some of the work that Partners in Food Solutions is doing in Nigeria, but also across Africa. So please listen, because at the end, there are opportunities to learn how you can partner with Partners in Food Solutions. All right. Put this here. Can you help, please? All right. The key message here is our future needs a thriving private sector. But also important is that we have food professionals that have food systems thinking. Fortunately, Professor took us through what food systems thinking means, so there's no need for me to repeat it. But in the slides that Mr. Mandela had to share, he did cover some of the food systems aspects. Next slide, please. And by the way, I'm going to rush through quickly because I know time is of essence. So this slide talks about the reason why we need food science and technology solutions that solve several problems at the same time. We've heard about climate change. We've heard about the fact that there's undernutrition in Nigeria, but there's also overnutrition, there's obesity, there's excessive food loss, and there's also food waste. Next slide, please. So Partners in Food Solutions came into existence about 17 years ago. It was set up by one of the global food companies called General Mills. And the focus of Partners in Food Solutions is to support food processors. We've heard here several times why food processing is important, because in the middle of the value chain is where you can create better nutritious products for consumers, as well as create markets for smallholder farmers. And you will also notice that within the food processing space is where you see a lot of potential for food scientists to show their expertise, to create value, and to innovate. So Partners in Food Solutions is made up of 6 global companies. And by the way, Partners in Food Solutions is a non-profit. and they've been a partner of Food Health Systems Advisory since 2017. So it's been fantastic working with them and doing great work with them. So these are the previous slide, please. These are the 6 global companies, and I'm going to talk a little bit about what they do. So General Mills is one of the largest food processing companies in the US. Beulah, for many of you who work in rice, who work in milling, they are one of the largest equipment manufacturers in the world. We also have Ardent Mills, Cargill. For many veterans here, you would know Cargill is one of the largest commodity companies in the world. And then you have Hershey Company and JM Smuckers. Now, why is it called Partners in Food Solutions? These global companies came together to set up this nonprofit, and they've been supporting food processors across Africa for about 17 years. And so far, we've been able to work with more than 2,000 food processors. So these are not your typical smaller companies. These are companies that have a revenue of $1 million to $20 million thereabout. And this support is given pro bono, not paid, already covered by the companies who make up the partnership. Previous slide, please. So this slide talks about the impacts, the footprint of Partners in Food Solutions. There are about 12 African countries have supported, as like I said before, more than 2,000 food companies. And another exciting thing, just like I said earlier, young people are at the heart of what Partners in Food Solutions does. And so there is an apprenticeship program where we've been able to train more than 180 food technologists and place them, including in Nigeria. In fact, some of you here, or a few NIFSTers, have been placed within food companies, especially women. I know there's room for the boy child, but from a gender lens, we've placed more than 50% of that 180 in companies, and now they are able to stay. The key message here is we want to raise young people who can have a chance to get into the food industry and to stay within the food industry. Next slide, please. So how does Partners in Food Solutions work? Similar to a lot of the philanthropy, this is what they call intellectual philanthropy, where these companies that have processed foods for hundreds of years, these are companies that their revenues are in billions of dollars. They are able to volunteer their expertise working with food processors on the continent on diverse topics, from process engineering to equipment to fortification, etc. So in this case, Partners in Food Solutions will have a staff in the country or a partner, like we have been in Nigeria. We identify food processors, and then we match them with the experts, and they get to relate on an intellectual level, solving problems at factory level. We also have a situation where many of the retirees within these global food companies are able to volunteer their time. And this is a great call for many of our fellows, many of our retirees who are retired but not tired and have a lot of intellect to contribute. This is one area that Partners in Food Solutions can partner with you on. So if you want to learn a little bit more, I will be available to connect you to the right person within PFS. Next slide, please. So these are the knowledge centers. And within these knowledge centers, when we identify apprentices, and these young apprentices are typically young graduates of food science and technology or food engineering, we train them on most of these knowledge centers. Now you would see some of these knowledge centers are not typical of a food science degree. But even for me, being a food scientist and being an entrepreneur, I've realized food safety and quality is not enough. You need to understand the business of running a food company. And so we train these young people and we place them. We also work with the food processors on diverse topics, R&D, product development, certification, equipment installation and design, but also finance and accounting, holistic margin management. The new product you're about to introduce in the market, is that product profitable? Is the product nutritious? These are some of the areas that Partners in Food Solutions works on. Next slide. Okay, so this is a thank you, but it's also a call. If you look at the back of this very wonderful brochure, You'll see more details about partners in food solutions. So if you are aware of companies that have revenues of $1 million and above, we're here to support them. I can see somebody smiling. Trust me, Nigeria has so many companies with $1 million in revenue and above. So if you know many more of them, because this is a nonprofit, we're able to support them to grow, because when they grow, they're able to absorb our young people, right? When they grow, they're able to buy more from farmers. They're able to supply even more nutritious foods. So more details are in the back. And also you can connect with me and I can relate you to the right person in the room. And then also for young graduates, we have the apprenticeship program. And once that is available, you can apply and be placed with the right company. Thank you very much.
Please a round of applause for Mrs. Vivian Madwike for that presentation. I like this because one, it cuts across all cadres of people present here. The retirees, if you are tired, but you're not tired, there's an opening. The young ones, there's room for internship. For those of us who are still very much active, there's also room for collaboration. So everybody is involved. So we are coming to see you very soon. On that note, ladies and gentlemen, I want to tell us that we are moving fast. We're moving now into the Helen Keller Foundation session. So I want to invite all the team members for the Helen Keller session to please come and take their seats while we quickly run through this session. Please a round of applause for the Helen Keller team. I have the moderator as Mrs. Faith Akuche Ishaya Nyam. I also have the lead speaker, Mrs. Damilola Ayodele Akintayo from Kapsani. Also, I have other speakers, Dr. Augustine Okorua, also as part of the team. Please a round of applause for these people as they're coming up. Also, I have Mr. Chukuma Anene. Is it Anene? Anene. That's the first time I'm seeing this. Okay. And Professor Olubenga Ogumoya, also expected to be on the seat for Kapsani. Please a round of applause for these people while they take this session. And I have the pleasure of handing over the microphone to Mrs. Faith Akuche.
Akute. The President and Nigerian Institute of Food Science, our 18 fellows and members of NIFST, permit me to stand on existing protocol. And thank you for the opportunity to present on one of our research that we worked on in collaboration with Kapsani. Please, if you could project the slide. I will give a brief overview of Helen Keller International. Please, can you project the slide? Okay, so Helen Keller has been in existence for over 100 years globally, since 1915. But in Nigeria, we are 26 years this year, and we have been implementing nutrition programs as well as neglected tropical diseases, NTD. And we have been working in 12 states now in Nigeria, implementing projects such as the Life-Saving Nutrition Project, Life-Saving Nutrition Project, Transforming Vitamin A Supplementation Project, Nutrition Project. These projects across, we are here presenting
Good afternoon once again, everybody. I'm going to be talking about large-scale food fortification, LSSF, as a next-generation technology solution for nutrition and nation building. Okay, so what is large-scale food fortification? Large-scale food fortification is basically the addition of essential vitamins and minerals such as iodine, such as vitamin A, such as folic acid, zinc, to widely consumed staple foods so as to prevent or tackle micronutrient deficiency. So can we go to the next slide? Okay, this is not the next slide. Okay, so the background of malnutrition, micronutrient deficiency in Nigeria, Nigeria as a country faces a triple burden of malnutrition. The NDHS 2023 report tells us that there is a stunting rate of 40%, wasting 8%, and underweight of 27% currently in Nigeria. And micronutrient deficiency contribute to high maternal mortality rate of about 993 deaths per 100,000 live births. And we see the economic implication, the economic cost of that as well at 56 billion US dollars and 1.5 billion US dollars annually lost due to malnutrition and diminished productivity respectively. And LSSF, introduced in 2002, has remained a cornerstone intervention against micronutrient deficiency. And globally, we see how that more than 3 billion people cannot actually afford to buy healthy foods. They cannot afford the high cost of healthy diet. And, micronutrient deficiency has continued to be a cause of public health concern. Silent killer, we call it eating hunger because it is not something that is, immediately visible or you can immediately track, but and we also see a high burden of micronutrient deficiency affecting 1.2 billion women of reproductive age, 372 million young children. And usually this micronutrient deficiency results in very serious health conditions such as the neural tube defect, which is a birth defect that arises from a vitamin B9 deficiency, poor physical and cognitive development, increased vulnerability to diseases, losses in productivity and potential, maternal and child mortality, stunting, and blindness. These are all of the adverse health effects of micronutrient deficiency. And so far, LSSF in Nigeria, we see that we have had some vehicles to actually get this nutrient to the population. So for salt, we have had to salt over the years, flour, sugar, edible oil. We have also had the addition of vitamin A as the fortificant to this food product. And we have seen a universal success story of over 90%. Was introduced in the around 2002, and by 2000, over 90%, which has drastically, reduced by 74%. It has reduced the odds of goiter in Nigeria. And the gaps that we have noticed, we have seen that the other foods that have been fortified as against the 90%, above 90% success story for salt, we have 60 to 65% compliance. And what are the challenges that we have identified? We have identified that there is a problem of premise instability, the fortificants that are actually added to the food. Under fortification, weak enforcement, low consumer awareness, and informal market product exclusion. Some of the challenges that we have identified. And so what we did this paper was to synthesize evidence from some studies, chiefly the study that was done by Ellen Keller International. And so the study was on consumer awareness and perception about food fortification among Nigerian households. And we also use documents on gain state of the nation LSSF reports, a progress in food fortification paper, by Ogumoyela et al., a food fortification initiative, Africa strategy report, then the recently published National Food Consumption and Micronutrient Studies, NDHS report, and World Bank reports. And all of these papers, this synthesis, burden of malnutrition, the compliance in part of the industry, on the part of the manufacturers, the risk management, innovations, and the partnership that is required for LSSF. And our key findings remains that LSSF is a cost-effective, intervention against micronutrient deficiency, but there are some gaps that still persist. That salt is the only near success vehicle that has been able to transport this nutrient to the people that we really needed to get it to everybody, as a matter of fact. And we also realized that consumer awareness is critically low, with the government contributing to only about 4% of this awareness. And I remember how that the awareness for HIV/AIDS, the awareness for immunization was very pronounced, was right in our faces, but we're not seeing that for consumer, we're not seeing that for food fortification. So these are some of the areas that we need some more work on. And we also see that the compliance is weak due to limited enforcement and informal market product exclusion. So we're talking about the informal, the products that are not registered, are sold in informal markets, that are sold in small scale quantity. These are the products that we're talking about. They are not, there is a weak compliance due to on this product. Okay. The innovation that we have brought as for next generational large scale food fortification. So we are saying that we should have new bouillon cubes. I'm going to expatiate more on that as we go in the presentation. We're talking rice, tomato paste, and we're also saying packaging innovations to reduce nutrient loss, because some of these nutrients are actually added, but in the course of handling, storage, and all of that, the quantity that is actually required to get to the consumer does not get to them, right? We're saying that digital monitoring and traceability system, for instance, what GAIN has begun to do, to help track what manufacturers have to their food products in real time, right? And we're also saying that we should strengthen laboratory capacities so that they can provide accurate results even for the fortified foods and also the fortificants that are used for them. And so, like I said, why bouillon cubes? So the reason is that bouillon is widely consumed across all income levels in West and Central Africa. So whether in the rich household, the middle income household, or the very poor household, they are able to afford bouillon. And some studies have been done across Africa, and we saw how that the consumption level of bouillon in this household were quite high. For Burkina Faso, we had 79%. For Niger, 88%, Cameroon, 96%, Cote d'Ivoire, 97%, Senegal, 98% and 99%, respectively. So, bouillon has already made itself a powerful self-targeting vehicle, to deliver this nutrient to those most at risk of this deficiency, and even in remote and underserved communities. Okay, So for partnership and risk management, we're saying that National Fortification Alliance should begin to drive multi-stakeholder alignment. So we're saying that the academia should marry their research outcomes with what the industry requires, for production, for fortification operations. Actually, we're saying that the International Development Organization should provide technical assistance and the funding that is required for this large-scale food fortification. We're saying that government should, do proper oversight and also provide the necessary policies and environment that will help to facilitate large-scale food fortification. And we're also saying that we should do more consumer awareness so that, because these consumers are actually the ones that will drive for the demand of these fortified foods. They'll be the ones to demand for the fortified foods. So, and we're also saying that initiatives such as the SAF project, SAF is strengthening African processors of food fortification. We're saying that this project can provide technical assistance and market linkages even for large-scale food fortification. Then partnership is critical for policy reform, accountability, and consumer awareness. And compliance framework, they act as risk management tool for food safety and nutrition. Then the policy implications. So we're saying that we should harmonize standards with the WHO and FAO recommendations and even bring it down to our context in the Nigerian industries for the bring it down to the realities that the Nigerian industry face. And we're saying we should strengthen enforcement and integrate LSSF into broader nutrition policies. So one of the barriers to large-scale food fortification that we have noticed is the added cost of fortification operations to the already existing cost in the industry. So we are saying we should find ways to reduce SME cost to reduce the cost barriers that SMEs are facing. And we should also bring informal markets into fortification. I was saying that we should invest in consumer-driven campaigns and improved labeling. I'm glad that we have talked about front of pack labeling today. And this is just a framework to show us how that, bringing together innovation, partnership, and nation building as a nation. And in conclusion, I would say that LSSF is most scalable, cost-effective intervention because really people do not need to change their dietary pattern and industries do not have to overly expensive infrastructural investments when they are doing large-scale food fortification. And like I said, success depends on marrying food agriculture resilience and reduces loss and advances public health nutrition in Nigeria. Now, UC Davis researchers say that young cubes with vitamin A, zinc, and folic acid, in addition to the already existing fortification programs, could save the lives of more than 18,000 under 5 children in the country every year. And by 2030, fortification could save the lives of more than 57,000 children. And we see why the importance of large-scale food fortification. It is a cost-effective intervention that would reach everyone, whether they are poor, whether they are rich. Everyone is able to afford this food because they are already foods that we consume. They are staple foods that are already in the system. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dami. Just to give a brief background of the Bouillon Fortification Project, this project has been implemented in Nigeria since 2019. And I would like to take a moment to appreciate the National Fortification Alliance for the support and also the NAFDAC, SON,
the NIFST, Mr. Wole Toye, who was very active in the country working group and has really contributed to the progress of this Beyond project, Nutrition Society of Nigeria, and research academia. We have our prof seated here who was chairing country working group, and we also want to acknowledge the Federal Competition and Consumer Protection Commission, who are also key stakeholders in the Beyond project. Now in the phase 2, including Federal Ministry of Health, but in phase 2 have the public ownership or government ownership of the project, where the Federal Ministry projects in partnership with Helen Keller International. Clearly stated that beyond fortification is an agenda of the government of Nigeria as alongside the salt reduction. This project has also worked together with the Standards Organization of Nigeria to produce the Nigerian Code of Practice 0123/2024 and revise the NIS for beyond manufacturing. We want to appreciate all the stakeholders that have contributed to the success of this project. I will give a few minutes to our, please, I kindly request that we minimize the noise. Thank you. Thank you very much. Dr. Okoro.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Hello, are we still here? If you are still here, say aye. Very good. Let's have some attention. Thank you. I just wanted to stir up your thought pattern on large-scale food fortification and why bullion fortification. In 1993, bullion was one of the vehicles that was supposed to be part of the initial vehicles for large-scale food fortification in Nigeria, but it was stepped down. And we had all the other mandatory vehicles that have been implemented for over 2 decades now. But it became very clear that if you want large-scale food fortification, which actually serves as a channel to deliver specific micronutrients to consumers, that one of the commodities or staples that is most widely consumed and available in most of the households in Nigeria and across West Africa is bullion. And that is why in the research component, this is the project, the Bullion Fortification Project funded by Gates Foundation, that has conducted a randomized control trial, a clinical trial that evaluated the impact or the value of adding multiple micronutrients to bullion and be consumed. And this was done in northern Ghana. And we have findings from that ROCT study that tells us there are information or data about how much of these micronutrients reach the consumers at the point of consumption. So, like Faith has said, this project is not in isolation. We are working with the federal government of Nigeria. The Federal Minister of Health is taking ownership, and we are working side by side with the strategic salt reduction guideline. So they're working side by side. We are not working against that. We're working against micronutrient deficiencies. And one of the aspects that comes in for the manufacturers is that they are also working on how best can they reduce salt content so that we can still deliver the taste, deliver macronutrients, and the consumers enjoy their food as flavored by bullion. We will leave the floor open for questions. Thank you very much.
Yeah, good afternoon. Not to fall asleep at a time like this. To what Dr. Okorowa has said in terms of the bullion fortification project.
it's something we are working in tandem with the Federal Ministry of Health and regulators. And like Faith has alluded earlier, this where certification.